What's up guys, my name's Liam, and today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite gaming mice that have come out this year. I'm going to be doing a couple of these. I'm going to be doing one that's going to be more dedicated to the more budget-friendly options, and then I'm also going to be doing a separate list dedicated to the ergo style mice. And I just want to be clear, these are all just my personal opinion on the mice that I personally have enjoyed using myself throughout the year. And as I go through these, I'm going to do my best to try and explain to you why I've placed them on the list in the spots that I have, kind of pointing out both the positives and the flaws that I've noticed with each one, to try and help you guys decide ultimately on whether or not these are going to be the right choice for you. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So starting out, I'm not going to number some of these first options due to the fact that I honestly just couldn't decide on which order that I wanted to place them in, because I really do enjoy them all and I feel like they're all great. But starting out with the Fantech Helios 2 Pro. I've really been enjoying using the Helios 2 Pro. It comes with incredible skates out of the box, and the overall design of this, you can tell that they really put a lot of thought and effort into it. Some drawbacks I have noticed about this is that the surface does not have any type of additional coating on it. It is just texturized plastic, which isn't bad, but I would prefer if it had a little bit more of a grippier coating myself personally. And some users have reported in time that they have been developing some side flex on some of their units, but aside from that, Fantech has been incredibly great to work with and talk to through my experiences personally. I've already done an initial impressions video on this, and I do plan on following up with an actual full review. I've noticed that people have been having different experiences with the overall implementation on these optical switches, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I will be covering it in my full review, but just give you guys a quick example. On my Mouse 1, it feels incredibly tactile, snappy, lightweight, easy to spam, and it's a joy to use. In fact, my implementation on Mouse 1 on this specific copy itself really feels like one of the best optical switches that I've used of the year. But just overall in general, I do feel like on my mouse number 2 on this, it doesn't even feel like it's the same switch as it does on Mouse 1. So let me go ahead and drop a sound test on mouse button 1 really quick so you can see what I'm talking about. But aside from that, I never spam my mouse button 2, luckily, so mouse 1 has been working great for me. I only literally use mouse 2 to hold it down to aim, and I don't even notice it being an issue for me in my use. So all around, this has felt great for me, and it's been working awesome. So that's why it makes it on my list for some of the top mice of the year. So let's go to the next selection. All right, and next up, we have the Endgame Gear OP1WE. I really do feel like this is one of the best shapes that's ever been created and released. The fact that they give you the options to where you can mod this so freely, you can get these incredible transparent Virgin PTFE skates that are just absolutely god tier in my opinion. Everything about this mouse feels incredibly premium. It has a great coating. Side buttons are awesome. There's only really 2 things that are holding this back for me. Number 1, obviously the tech is a little outdated in this. This has the older compact solution and has a maximum polling rate of the 1K. And then aside from that is the optical switches. Now they do have the option to get a lighter switch pack, and they do feel much better. But again, the optical switches in this, they just feel a little bit more clunky. As you can tell, they kind of have a little bit of that slower reset time, and not my favorite switches out there on the market to use or spam. But aside from that, the overall feeling of this mouse just in general feels great. It feels awesome in the hands, and I've enjoyed using it in game. And the reality is, if I can get this with the 4K polling rate and some better switches in here, this would absolutely be in probably my top 3 of the year. But aside from that, this is really taking me by surprise. I've loved using it, and it's been one of my favorites. All right, and next up, something I did want to mention briefly, even though this is obviously the Starlight 12, it didn't come out this year. The reason I did want to mention this to you is because Meow Mouse actually created a custom PCB solution for this, where you can add your own switches to it. And even though the firmware does kind of need to be tightened up a little bit, I do feel like the performance on this mouse has been great. And the only reason I wanted to give a brief mention to this is when the Starlight 12 first came out, I did actually main the small version for years. So I'm just a huge fan of this shape, and the fact that I was able to update it and kind of customize it to my own liking with the 4K polling rate, coming in at 45 grams. If I were to drop a smaller battery in this, I can get it down to probably around 42, 43 grams. So all around, this does stay on my desk, and I use it a lot to this day. So I've been really enjoying this a lot. And next up, we have the Daru A950 Pro, and this is the magnesium version. I've really enjoyed using this mouse a lot throughout the years. I really feel like that they have this great open skate design, so you can put either the bigger style skates on here, or the smaller skates. The skates that do come include this mouse, they do feel great. It has this nice grippy matte coating on it, and all around I just feel like this feels like a really great implementation. Some of the downsides with this is I have seen some users reporting issues with the sensor. Now I have updated this to the recent firmware. You have to go and download it directly off the Dira website, and I've been trying to mess around with the sensor and swipe back and forth on it as quickly as I can. I have not been able to replicate the issue, and normally I am a high sense player anyways. The only thing I'd really change about this is, I did mention in the review, is the side holes on here. They did kind of bother me just a little bit, not that much of a big deal, but aside from that, I have been really enjoying this mouse overall in the shape. The buttons are really clicky. I would probably prefer them to be just a little less clicky and a little bit lighter. Not that they're heavy by any means, but all around I feel like this has been a really great option, and I have really enjoyed using it myself personally. All right, so now let's start adding numbers here, and coming in at the number 7 spot, I'm gonna go ahead and throw up the Pulsar X2 V2. I myself am a huge fan of Pulsar and what they're doing, and I do feel like this feels just great all around. It has an incredible grippy coating to it, great weight, great balance. I did not really enjoy the shape of the X2H and the X2H Mini myself personally. I just felt like the back just felt a little too odd for me, a little too wide and rounded, but I really do feel like this is a great mouse all around, and there really is only one thing that's really holding this mouse back for me, and one thing that's actually keeping it down as low as it is on the list from being up at the top. And just like with all these other mice, it's going to come down to the optical switches that are featured in here. The overall implementation of these, to me, they don't feel that bad out of the box sometimes they do, but again, there's just been a lot of inconsistencies with them. Some of them feeling a little bit more mushier to me, some of them kind of having a little bit more of a slower reset time, some of them feeling almost a little bit too clicky. So let me just go ahead and throw up a sound comparison on my X2H really quick. These buttons, they just feel a little bit more mushy to me, and almost like the reset time on them takes a while and almost feels like they're sticking. So again, all around, this mouse truly is great. Just the one thing I feel like holding it back is the opticals. The skate's all right. I kind of would prefer if they had some more transparent Virgin PTFE skates on there, but I really been loving the X2 V2, and I just really hope that they are to come out with this mouse, hopefully in the future, with different switches in it. Coming in at number 6, we have the G-Wolves HTX. Ever since the beginning of the year and the start of my YouTube channel, this has been, without question, one of my favorite mice. It's incredibly lightweight. It's great to use. It has a pretty good shape on it. Some of the downsides of it for me is that it doesn't have any type of additional coating on it. It is just this texturized plastic feeling to it. And as much as I do love the shape on this, I do feel like the mouse is just a little bit too flat for me. When my thumb, I kind of have a fatter thumb there, and as I'm gripping this, I kind of feel like there's times where it just kind of drags along the mouse pad for me. And a lot of people weren't really that much of a fan of the skates, but the good thing is that it does have this flat bottom, and X-Ray Pad themselves has their own custom skates that they do make for the HTX. I'm actually looking at picking those up. So if this thing did have a coating on it and it was a little bit taller, it would be higher up on my list, but overall the weight of it feels good. I wasn't really a fan of the zippy switches they put in here, so I modded this myself and threw in my own Huano blue shell pink dots, but all around I really do feel like this is a great option, incredible weight, and this has absolutely been one of my favorite mice to use throughout the year. Next up, coming in at number 5, we are actually going to put on here the Final Mouse ULX. Now I know this is going to be a very controversial option for a lot of people out there, and I honestly did struggle on whether or not I was going to actually include this on the list or not, just due to the insane build quality issues that I have been having on my copy. But I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, at the end of the day, I still find myself using this mouse. And the things that have really done it for me is obviously ignoring the build quality issues. It just comes back to the shape. Like I told you guys, I actually mained the Final Mouse Starlight 12 Small for a year, so I've been a huge fan of the shape of this, and the one thing that I feel like they just knocked it out of the park and killed it with this mouse is the buttons. The fact that I've had such bad experiences with optical switches this year, every time I pick this up and use it, as long as it's not flexing on me too much or creaking to where it annoys me, the switches on here, they just feel absolutely incredible. That paired with the shape and the lightweight of this mouse, it really is great to use. Even though I've used Final Mouse a lot over the years, I am starting to kind of get over the actual holes myself. I kind of hope that they were to get away from the holes in the near future. I'm not really so much a fan of this scroll wheel. It's not the worst scroll I've used, but it does feel just kind of like some cheap plasticky 3D printed scroll wheel, but I know that it does add on to the weight, and they're all about the weight. So again, all around with the shape, the clicks of this thing, and just kind of how I am able to game with it coming in at such lightweight. I really do find myself enjoying this. I really hope that they are able to figure out the build quality issues on this thing, because when they do, this is really going to be a killer. All right, and next up, coming in the number 4 spot, we have the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition. I kind of have had a love-hate relationship with this thing in my time using it. Besides the fact that it cost $280, not really happy with the fact that I did have to buy some additional custom skates for a $280 mouse. Aside from that, the buttons have become pretty loose for me, and you do get the wobble on the left to right, and I've never really just got over the scroll on this. It does feel a little bit more slippery to me. But when it comes to the actual shape, you know, the Razer Viper Mini is one of the best shapes out there. I have enjoyed using it, and to be honest with you guys, when it comes to the sensor performance, the 4K, the 8K on this thing, every time I use this, it really is just next level. When I play fast-paced, high-tracking games like Apex Legends, every time I switch this from anything else, it honestly just kind of stands in a league on its own. It feels so incredibly smooth, and I just have so much confidence with the shape and the tracking on this. Again, not overall a fan of the looseness of it and stuff like that, but I do have to say that all around, this is absolutely one of my favorite mice. And if they were to button up these small issues on it, especially at the cost that it does come in at, it would be higher up on the list. But I've absolutely been loving the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition, and I do feel like it is one of the best gaming mice out there without question. And next up, coming in the number 3 spot, we have the WL Mouse Beast X. Even though this thing has holes all over it, and I do have to use grip tape to use it, the build quality on my unit all around has just been completely solid. The side buttons have felt flawless. Clicks 1 and 2 are incredible. There's like no play on them, and the weight and shape of this thing has just been absolutely incredible for me, and I love the performance of it in game. I really love how they design these skates. You have options of putting the bigger skates on here or the smaller. I do hope that they're going to come out with some third-party skates in the near future with the see-through Virgin PTFE skates. I'd really be looking to that. And I'm not really so much a fan of the scroll wheel. I did find out, I said in my video that it was metal. I did actually confirm with WL Mouse it is a plastic scroll wheel, not a metal one. And even though I don't have the greatest issues with it, I would prefer to be rubberized. But all around, like I said, the weight, shape of this mouse, the feeling of it in game, the buttons 1 and 2 feel incredible. I really have been enjoying using this, and this is one of my favorite mice to use right now. And as you guys can imagine, since I did main the Final Mouse Starlight 12 small, I am completely over the moon for them to release the smaller version of this. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I am really looking forward to that. And before we jump into my final selections, I just want to tell you guys really quick that these top mice are really as good as it gets for me. They can go either way. Either one of these could be in the number 1 spot, and I've really enjoyed using them a lot. But to get started here, let's go ahead and jump into the number 2 spot, which is going to be the Ninjutsu Sora 4K. For me personally, this is almost a near perfect mouse. It comes in at an incredible weight. It has a great coating on it, some of the best skates on the market. I absolutely love the shape. This is one of my favorite shapes. And even though this uses optical switches, this has been by far my favorite optical switch implementation mouse that has come out of the year. Even though people have reported inconsistencies with the actual sounds of the switches themselves, they're incredibly easy to spam, lightweight, and all around, I've just been really loving this thing. For me personally, with the way that I've used this, I can't really think of too many flaws for it. I love how it doesn't have any holes on it. I love just how solid it feels in the hand and how great it is. And again, I can't stress you guys enough how much I love using this thing, and this is without question been absolutely one of my favorite gaming mice of the year. All right, and then finally, last but not least, coming in the number 1 spot, as I'm sure is not going to be a surprise to any of you that watch my channel, we are actually going to do a tie here between the Lamzu Atlantis Mini and the Lamzu Maya. The reason that I'm putting both of these in the number 1 spot is because I kind of felt like it would be weird if I were to put like the Maya's number 1 and the Atlantis Mini in the number 2 spot. But really, when it comes to both of these both have without question been my favorite gaming mice of the year. And to this day, I'm not joking, there's days where I'll pick up the Lamzu Atlantis Mini and I'll still just use it. 2-3 days will go by, and then I'll finally come over and switch over to the Maya when I want to change it up and do things a little bit differently. And to be completely honest with you guys, if I had to pick between both of these, which one I do prefer, I do slightly prefer the Maya a little bit more over the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. But even as I was using the Sora 4K a lot, I love the mouse. I think it's one of the best ones out there. Something about the shape of the Lamzu Atlantis Mini, it just works out perfectly for me. And though this mouse is not for everybody because it does have very aggressive curves in it, not only from bottom to top, but on the sides as well. Just for me and my hand size, this thing just seems to work out perfectly for me. I absolutely love the side buttons. It has some of my favorite side buttons out there. The clicks are just so addicting and they feel phenomenal. The coating on here on the new Pro and the 4K version is just honestly incredible to me. And the fact that you have a really good skate design on the bottom here. Overall, I've just been really enjoying using this mouse all year. It's been my main throughout most of the year, ever since it first came out. And no matter what mice I test out or what I do, I still to this day, I just can't seem to find myself getting away from it. And when looking at the Atlantis Mini and the Maya side by side, as you can tell, they're not really that far apart from one another. In fact, the Maya got a lot of inspiration from the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. It basically is an Atlantis Mini for the most part. They just made some adjustments to it. It has less curves on the side. They gave a mid hump profile versus the Atlantis Mini rear hump, and they did kind of raise up the front a little bit more. The overall profile on this, I did find myself having a little more confidence in my aim on the Maya because the fact that it is raised up a little bit more in the front and it does have a little bit flatter sides. I do find myself able to come up a little bit more on my grip on this mouse. I'm able to align my pinky with the middle sensor, and overall I just feel like it gives me a little bit more stability in my shots and in my aim. The Maya also has the Huono Blue Shell pink dots in here. The clicks are just incredibly addicting, lightweight, incredibly easy to spam. They work out perfectly for my style and my taste. The side buttons on this thing even feel incredible. The balance is perfect, and the weight of this coming in at 45 grams, again, it's just another reason why I do slightly just prefer it over the Atlantis Mini. And I understand that it seems like I show a lot for Lamzu on my channel, but the reality is that the size of my hands and the uniqueness in these shapes, they just seem to work out perfectly for me. And even though all these great mice keep coming out and I enjoy using them, I always find myself coming back to these time and time again. All right, guys, so I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.